We're out for a early morning stroll on a brisk day in Bordeaux. It's 10 o'clock in September, and here is the cathedral. The bell tower is separate. It's so heavy, they felt that it needed to be separate. We've seen that in Italy, but not in France. This is the main entrance, but hey, it's not open. This is City Hall. It says Hotel de Ville. Somebody has designed this nifty mirror. It's blocks of granite with a very thin coating of water. Then every now and then they put out some mist so it looks like fog. But it creates quite an interesting mirror effect. These pillars are in recognition of naval victories in the past. We're approaching this major big column. And around here we have a fountain. Well, here we have a bunch of horses, and I thought it was Poseidon. I don't know who she is. This monument is in memory of the Girondins. This is probably something that occurred in 1789. And in 1989, they put this plaque here. And this fountain, in 1942, the commission in charge of reclaiming non-ferrous metals bought the fountain, adorning the Girondins monument for 30 French francs per kilo. On August 14, 1943, the whole monument was dismantled. Farewell, peace, harmony, and happiness. However, in October of 44, the 34 sculptures were found intact in Angers and made a triumphant return to Bordeaux on the 5th of July, 1945. In 1982, the wondrous seahorses were restored to their pool, and since then they have gaily drawn the allegorical chariots of the Republic and Concordia. Here's some dolphins, I suppose, squirting water. I don't know who the guy is behind. And over here are some more kids. And here's the other side of the fountain. This is Place des Quinçones, the Chateau Trompette, 1453 to 1815. For 3 centuries, Bordeaux was English. Well, after winning it back in 1453, Charles VII stamped it with the royal seal. Chateau Trompette was a symbol of this, as was the Fort du Haut. The castle rose up on the banks of the Garonne River. In 1665, after the rebellion of the Fronde and the Orme, Louis XIV continued Charles VII's work, making the chateau even more imposing. Once the city got into line, the citadel became redundant, so it its place to a vast square. So there was a big chateau here, and now there's gravel. But I must say, Bordeaux was English. Well, that was because Eleanor of Aquitaine, whose father and family had owned this whole area for probably centuries, married first the future king of France, and then she married the Henry II, who became king of England. But they were French. Eleanor's children, John, who signed the Magna Carta, and Richard the Lionheart, they spoke French. They considered themselves French. This was their territory. Were living here instead of in England, even though they were French. They managed to finally drive them out and take over. So much for the history lesson. Notice all the bikes for rent. You have to have an account, but then you just stick your card in there, take the bike, ride it where you want. That's one there. And it's quite a good idea. But in the meantime, in the background, these tree-lined avenues have been the hub of Bordeaux for 3 centuries. Originally designed in 1744, they were revamped in the late 19th century. This is a well-known wine store here in Bordeaux. This store is exclusively champagne. We have wine and spirits just across the street. Every city in France, and even some towns, seem to have merry-go-rounds. This one dates from 1900, evidently. Oh, it's a double-decker. That's pretty cool. Here's a nice 3D map of Bordeaux. These are designed for the visually impaired. I think it's great. We've seen it in many cities in Europe. Oops. So this is the wine store that Stu really wanted to go to. We were here 20 years ago. But it's pretty neat. I'll show you why. What's unique is the spiral staircase with wine all the way as you go up the staircase. Here's the staircase winding around, and it continues winding up there. Lots of vin. Okay, here we are in the Bordeaux wine area, and let's see, Chateau Haut-Brion. That's where we went yesterday. And down here is where we went yesterday afternoon. Back to the city of Bordeaux. We'll head up this way this afternoon. Okay, these are the big bottles up here on the top floor. Okay, looking down. Pretty cool. And this is the Grand Theater across the street from the wine shop. Big major city, and really there's not a whole lot of traffic. Trams, bicycles, motorcycles. Stu is headed into this wine store, wine and gourmet food, that they just closed from 12 to 2, and this is a Notre Dame. of Bordeaux.